Hey
Hey
guys.
guys, we're live. I'm Jeff with eBay Addicts, and today I got OBX Picker here with us. Eric, how you doing today?
Oh man, doing well. Good to
Oh,
see
bro,
you.
go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience in case people don't know who you are.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Eric. I go by OBX Picker on YouTube. Also have a second channel called OBX Flips now that I do some live hangouts on as well over there. But yeah, I mostly resell on eBay. I've recently started hauling some stuff off to auction houses, and I've been reselling now, man, going on 3 years, honestly. It's getting
Yeah,
there. So
you know, time
it's
time flies when you're having fun, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so Eric, you're out there are you in Virginia, right? On the Outer Banks of Virginia, right?
No, Outer Banks of North Carolina. So
North.
like,
Okay,
yeah, yeah,
you're in
home of
North
the Wild
Carolina,
Rebel.
and man, Eric, you've been busy, man. Since I saw you last, you've been hanging out with Cincinnati Picker. You were over there with Commonwealth Picker. I saw you with Shad Juice lately. You've been doing a little bit of traveling. Oh, and you was at that reseller rally too, right?
Yeah, yeah. I actually got sporting my shirt today. Reseller rally,
Yeah.
Cincinnati. Got her a little bit dirty, but yeah, man. So I started a new series on my YouTube channel called Whatcha Pickin, and where I've went and interviewed other pickers, other resellers, just kind of trying to get the lay of the land as far as like what they do and how they do it. I used to do a lot of these kind of interviews, and then I started doing this. I really enjoy actually going to where they're at, meeting them, hanging out, being able to interact with those guys. So that series, I think we're on about the seventh episode now, and I'm actually supposed to be dropping one later today. It might be first thing in the morning, just because I've got it about halfway edited, and so we'll see how much we get done of it. So yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah.
been yeah. Reseller rally was awesome. Getting to meet all the guys. Prior to Reseller Rally, actually myself, Tim, and Cernock went and hung out with Kevin Commonwealth Picker and went to the 100 Mile Yard Sale there in Virginia. So yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah. Did you find any good stuff at that 100-mile yard sale? How did that go?
Yeah, yeah, it was decent. Like at first when I first started on it, so Kevin to me is about maybe 4 hours from me. So we went over into North Carolina, and then we traveled up. So the 100 Mile Yard Sale runs from Danville, Virginia, all the way to the top of Virginia. And so when I first started out, like that first day, I called Kevin and I was like, "Bro, you're not lying. There's nothing out here." Like, but
Yeah.
I was like, it was a little lean to begin with, but it picked up. But honestly, man, I learned so much when I was with those guys, just from Kevin, man. Honestly, some of the things he picks up, but also just YouTube, like how he films, how he's got the camera working, like the whole thing. Like there's a lot more to it than what people assume when they watch videos of people out picking. So like that's really helped me a little bit with how I film and how I interact with that stuff with yard sales. And then Tim and Cernock, man, like I've been with Tim before at a estate sale that I invited him to, but to watch those guys, Tim's one of the few guys that I've ever seen go into an antique store and come out with deals and steals. Like because he knows what he's looking at. Like occasionally people would have stuff that they don't know, but that they
Yeah.
put in there. So he come out with that. And then Cernock, we're rolling up the yard sales that I'd be hitting the gas on. You got a pile of clothes out there on the tarp. I'm hitting the gas going down the road. And he would go out there and pull like $40 and $50 shirts out of that stuff. I'm like, dude,
Really.
what is this? So it was a good time. And then the
Yeah.
127 is what we did after that. So I went up and interviewed Danny Pickwa Reseller. I interviewed Shad Juice, obviously Cincinnati Picker. I actually got to hang out at his shop for a little while. That was awesome, and went and had lunch with him, and we had dinner together, all that kind of stuff. So that was cool. I see Danielle in the chat. I actually got to hang out with Danielle and Corey, her husband. So man, that was awesome. Like they were out selling on the 127. So it's been a blast actually being able to meet people kind of where they're at and see what things look like and how it is. And you know, everybody's got their own style at this thing. I don't think there's a cookie cutter way of doing reselling, and everybody's got their own thing that you can learn from and ideas you can pick up. So it's been fun.
Right. Let me say hello to a few people in the chat. I wanted to say hey to Flippin' Sports Guy is here in the chat. He says, hey, Jeff and Eric, and Yard Sales and Dreams. She's going to be our guest for tomorrow. So if you guys want to come back tomorrow and hang out, we'll have a brand new guest for you guys. Yard Sales and Dreams will be on tomorrow. So Eric, man, tell the people the story about how you actually got started into reselling, because it wasn't like pre-planned. It wasn't like you were like, man, one day I'm going to be a big time YouTuber reseller. You just kind of fell into it. So tell people the story of how that happened.
Yeah. So guys, for me, it was very interesting with, my daughter did LuLaRoe. So if you guys remember, LuLaRoe used to be something, and now it's not anything, but like it used to be something. So she did that for about a year and a half, pretty serious. And then she actually moved out. I mean, my daughter's grown, so nothing weird, but like she moved out on her own and she kind of left all that behind. So I actually looked at that and I was like, man, what are we going to do with this stuff? I talked to her, like, what are you going to do with it? She's like, well, I've had it too long. I can't send it back. So I said, well, you know, I'll just put a few pieces online and see if it sells. And it was slow, but then I started listing things around the house. Next thing you know, me and my wife would go to thrift stores and yard sales occasionally anyway, just for fun. And I rolled into a yard sale. Now I have the eBay app. I looked it up. And I was like, dude, this is incredible. Like, there's crazy value. Ended up buying like, I think it was like 5 totes of Marvel action figures. You go back and you watch my very first video, you'll see what I found. But it's Marvel action figures. That video is terrible, by the way. So if you go back and you're a new YouTuber, just say, hey, there is hope. Like, I can do that. So I found that. Yeah. It was a great deal. I made probably a few $1,000s off that deal. And then that kind of set the hook for me going forward. And then, you know, I was still just going to do it part-time and do my other side hustle stuff. I'm kind of like Jeff. I do a little bit of everything. Like he has the thing where he does the courier, but I was doing Uber. I've got several houses that I did maintenance for, like, and so a lot of that stuff I was doing. And then when COVID hit, I really just jumped in with both feet in the reselling. And I was like, I've kind of been grinding at it ever since. YouTube came a little later, but I popped into that honestly because I watched other guys and said, hey, if they could do that, I could do it. And I honestly love the reselling community. I like hanging out with people and you know, being able to interact and see what they find and see what I can learn from them, all that kind of stuff. So
Eric, tell us how you came about to get a shed, because, you know, it's kind of funny to me that you weren't even planning on being a reseller. You just, you know, your daughter had left some stuff laying around your house, and that turned into you having a big shed, you know, thousands of items listed, and having a YouTube channel about reselling, all kind of incidentally, like it wasn't pre-planned. So tell us, like, your house was like really, really overloaded with stuff. So tell us how that happened. Go ahead.
So if you fast forward a little while, there's another video where it says I bought a sporting goods store. I literally bought a sporting goods store. So when that happened, my living room, dining room, it was full, literally full. And so needless to say, the wife weren't too happy about all that one. When that went down, I already had, like, initially I had 1 bedroom that I was kind of keeping my stuff in. Then it spilled into 2 bedrooms. Now, fast forward, we've got the living room and den full of that stuff. So I'm like, at that point, I ordered a shed. I was like, I've got to get a shed. But it took a couple months to get here. So now all I'm doing is like just sitting there like, oh my gosh, like, what are we going to do with this stuff? I'm trying to like list it as fast as I can, get it up. But it took a little doing. And you guys know, I mean, like, the next thing that happened to me was I ended up getting these parts, man. Like I ended up buying like 80 boxes of boat parts. Like
I remember you had those boat parts.
Boom. Yeah. I'm still selling boat parts. I sell them every day. I actually sold 3 today. So like this.
Yeah. I'm just laughing, Eric, because I could just see your wife coming home from work. And guys, when he said he had that stuff full, he literally had this stuff almost stacked to the ceiling. So I mean, like you could just see it's like up to here, like he's got his nose sticking out, and the rest of it is just stacked up with eBay merchandise, bro. Like it was literally crazy. So I could just see, your wife coming home just beating you with her purse. Like, Eric, what did you do? Get this out of my house.
It was crazy. So my parents were here when my parents actually live with us now, but they were here then. So when that guy called me about he's like, hey, I've got this sporting goods buy. Like he goes, all I want is the fixture. Do you want the inventory? I was like, yeah. Like how much? We negotiated the deal. It ended up being a great deal for both of us. But man, so dude pulled up in my yard with an 18-foot trailer halfway full up. And I was like, oh my gosh, like where are we going to put all this stuff? So we just started piling it in there. And then, like I said, thank God the shed showed up in about a month and we were able to kind of move things out. But now I'll tell you, Jeff, one of the things I recently done is I actually now have another storage facility as big as the shed. So
really?
The plan is it's about 2 miles from my house. A friend of mine has a big building that he owns, and in the bottom of it, he has some storage there. So I recently had another big buy. I bought my van filled up at least one time full, and then a few extra of appliance parts. For those of you who don't know, parts are a great thing to sell. If you can find the new old stock stuff, they sell for high dollar and they sell pretty quick. But anyway, I found that. So I actually I'm rattling my brain. Like I was like, okay, I want to buy this because it's a great deal. But I'm like, where do I put it? Because my shed, guys, like most of what's in the shed is listed now. I have 2 racks that are unlisted inventory and stuff in the floor that is unlisted, like along the sides of the rack. So I was like, so where do I put all this stuff? Here's another load. So I called my buddy. I was like, hey, I know you got some extra space over there. Would you be willing to rent me some? And so we worked out a deal, and I went over there, and I ended up, being able to get that space. So now the plan is to get everything out of my house, use that as intake over there to where it's like, I'm probably still going to keep an office in one of the bedrooms just for, other stuff besides just doing the stream. And and probably keeping some of my more sensitive items in the sense that sensitive, not in any kind of crazy way, but sensitive as far as temperature control. Keep some of that in there, but use that over there for pure intake. So when I buy stuff, I'll take it there. I'll sort through it. I'll put it in totes and boxes and kind of separate it out to where then I can then bring it over a couple totes at a time here to list it and stock it. So that's kind of the next going forward with me.
So. All right, Eric. Let me say hello to the people in the chat. I wanted to say hi to Hot Flip Heidi. We're live on Twitch and YouTube right now. So if you guys have questions for our guests, drop it in the chat. Wanted to say hey to Javela Flips. Annie is here. Says hey to Jeff and Eric. Yard Sales and Dreams is going to be our next guest tomorrow. So you guys want to tune in and check that out. I wanted to say hey to Ebliss Reseller. Says hey Jeff and Eric. Wanted to say hey to the ATL Flipper is here. He says, what's up, everybody? I'm driving and listening. Okay. I hope you have a good day. And I wanted to say hey to Twin Pillars is in the chat. Carter P is here. What's up, Carter P? I hope you're having a good day. I think Carter P is up in Canada. And let's see. We have a couple questions here in the chat. Oh, Philly Picker is here. Hey, Philly Picker. I caught the tail end of your working hangout today. He says, what's up, Jeff and Eric? And we have a couple questions here. Yard Sales the Dream says, Eric, I've never asked you, are you a full-time reseller? So now, are you officially a full-time reseller now,
Yeah,
Eric? Tell us.
about a year and a half. Like, honestly, I do other stuff occasionally, and I used to do credit card processing, and I obviously I still have about 5 houses that I do maintenance for occasionally, like odd job stuff that comes up. So that doesn't it actually happens less now. A lot of times I kind of just pass that on to somebody else. But yeah, that's what I
All
do.
right. And we have a question here from the Flippin' Sports guy. He says, how did your purchase go yesterday, Eric? So what purchase is that he was talking about?
All right. So yesterday, for those of you guys that don't know, on my OBX Flips channel that I've just recently started, I've moved listing and loafing over there. The talk show thing that we do, listing live, basically work and hangout. So we moved that to that channel. So yesterday, all right, the day before, one of my local guys here, his name's Justin Ott. He's sometimes in my chats, but he's the guy. My recent video that kind of blew up for me was a Lego haul that was massive, another big buy. And so Justin was the guy who was with me when we were picking that day. We actually split that deal. So he is from California originally. He's one of those guys that, man, he thinks outside the box about picking. So Monday night, he called me and said, hey, man, take a look at this auction. And I looked at this auction. It's a storage unit. And the one he was looking at, there's 2 storage units that had a massive amount of models in it, like model kits. And so we were both looking at that. He goes, I'm thinking about buying that. I said, cool, man. Like, if you need any help, let me know. You know, so I went and looked at it, and I was like, yeah, it's definitely value there. At the time, it was around 2K. That thing jumped to like over 7K. Well, I'm looking at it, I was like, well, I don't really want anything big right now that I've got like big things, unless it's just a steal, you know. I don't really need a massive amount of inventory right now. I want to get through what I'm doing and get organized. And he goes, so I looked at that storage facility. I was like, I wonder what else they got for auction, right? They had 3 other units for $10 a piece. And I was like, oh, so I'm looking through the units. For those of you guys that don't know, I've worked in restaurant industry before. I used to own a Subway restaurant. And so I'm looking in the one unit, and I see nothing but restaurant equipment and chairs and tables. And I'm like, ooh, there's some money there, right? That's one of the $10 units. And I was like, oh my gosh. I said, well, so I hit watch on it. I actually bid up a little. I think I bidded like $20. I wake up the next day. There's another guy that's outbid me. It's like 50, 60 bucks. So then I end up going to 200, right? Because I'm like, okay, 200. So I set at 200. Well, then yesterday when I got on my live, I'm at 200 winning. And so I get in there to those guys, and I'm like, with the guys, we're on the chat. The auction ends at 1. So like we start at 9:30 every Tuesday, and we go to like 3 or 4 o'clock. The auction ends at 1. So we're on live. Everybody's looking at the auction like, okay, are you going to get it or are you not going to get it? Well, I was making phone calls too, because I'm like, okay, so what am I going to do if I get this thing? Because like, obviously, I don't want to ship a, 500-pound piece of restaurant equipment on eBay. Right. So I'd made a contact with an auction house, but it was a long ways away. It's like 5.5 hours away. So I'm like, man, I said, we were bidding back and forth with the guy. And I actually was having computer problems. And I told my guy, I was like, Justin, he was on there looking at the auction. I was like, dude, bid it up to 250. Like, I can't get in to do the bid. So he bid it to 250, and then a guy beat me. And I was like, he's higher than me. So then I finally got on the computer, and I told everybody, I was like, I guess my limit will be 300. Nah, I went in and bought it for 360. So long story short, what ended up happening is yesterday afternoon, you have to have the auction out 24 hours after. Yesterday afternoon, we got off the show at 3. I had rented a Ryder truck. I mean, a U-Haul truck on my phone, like you can do the pickup thing. So I picked all that stuff up. Last night, I was loading that stuff and cleaning that storage unit out for about 4.5 hours. Got all of it on the truck except for the stuff I really wanted to begin with. The thing I was looking at besides the restaurant equipment, there was 2 7-foot. I didn't know they were quite that big, but they're 7-foot. You know, the metal Metro racks, like the ones you buy for like $150, $200 storage racks. So I'm like, my new storage space, I said, those would be perfect in there. And they cost about $120, $150 a piece. So I'm like, man, if I can get this unit, like those 2 are in there, that's great. So I did that, got everything but those racks and a couple other pieces that I was keeping. My parents took my car up there. We loaded that with all the small. I piled all the trash in the corner. And then last night on the way home, I was like, man, there's got to be a closer auction house. So I'm Googling like local auction house that has restaurant equipment or stuff like that. So in Virginia, Norfolk, it's about 2 hours from me. I found one and I called the number and the guy picked up. It's like 9 o'clock at night. I was like, what's the likelihood of that? And he's like, all we do is restaurant equipment. I said, do you have space? I've got a truckload I can bring you. So first thing this morning, took that whole truckload up there, unloaded it back by the storage unit, picked up the rest of what I had, swept the unit out, came back, dropped it in my storage unit, and now I'm here. So it'll come up for auction in 2 weeks. And like,
what do you think the value of that equipment is going to be when it sells? Did they give you like a estimate?
It's hard to say. I had about probably 50 chairs. So chairs sometimes can go $10-15 a piece. I know like when I had my Subway, to buy those chairs new, they're about $60 to $80 a piece. So like if I could get, I basically told the guy today, I said, dude, if I could make my money back on just the chairs, that'd be great for me. Like I'd feel like I came out ahead. I had about 18 tables.
Right.
So like I'm thinking I'll do all right. Because keep in mind, I paid $360 for the unit, but then I had to rent a truck. I had to drive it up there, you know, like so there I've got more invested than that. Like I'm probably close to the $600 mark. But there is a slushy machine in there that could do real well. Like maybe $1,000, like it could do that much.
Yeah. So, would you recommend people rolling the dice and buying storage units? Because I see people
my first unit. That was my first ever unit. Normally, I recommend you to find somebody who buys storage units and buy from them. That's what I recommend.
Well, I saw this guy, I think it was either on Locker Nuts channel or Taco Stack channel, and he bought this whole storage unit yesterday for $1, right? And then, so it sounds on paper, it sounds good. And then you think about how much work there is involved, because you have to go in and clean this whole storage locker out from top to bottom. And I mean, clean and swept out. You're dragging all this stuff out of there. You know, it's 100 degrees, 90% humidity. You're carrying all this stuff out of here. And some of the stuff, like I said, is going to be junk and garbage. And the other stuff that you want to get rid of, you're going to donate. The stuff you want to keep, you're going to have to go through and test it and clean it and take photographs and all that stuff. So, I mean, there's a lot of work that's involved in that. So let me say hello real quick, Eric, to a few people in the chat. I wanted to say hey to Regina is here. The Flippin' Sports guy. Javela Flip Annie is here. Eblis Reseller says, Eric, do you do well with local items like fish and stuff? So do you do well selling stuff locally, or do you do most of your sales on eBay?
Most of my stuff is eBay, to be honest. Like the local market here is terrible, to be honest. Like as far as like trying to sell stuff online is a nightmare because everything's kind of spread out. And it's like everybody else when you're doing Facebook Marketplace, that kind of stuff, like no shows and all that. So I kind of shy away from that. What I have started doing is I've found a few auction houses. So like if I get overloaded with stuff, I just take stuff there. Like that's my new method of cleaning out. Because I used to do yard sales and stuff too, but I really would rather go to the yard sale than host a yard sale. So that's kind of what I've learned.
Right. Well, if you can offload it, I mean, I haven't done it, but if you can offload it to some of these auction places and then have them do the work, and then you just show up and pick up your check. So, that would be a good shortcut. Yard Sales and Dreams says you got to have guts. It says guts and muscle to handle those storage units. I wanted to say, hey, to Carolina Thrifter, Casey is here, man. I saw you. He was on yesterday with Kat the Nurse Flipper, and I think he's going to be on tonight with Derek and Regina. So, man, Carolina Thrifter, he's a popular guy. If you get a chance, you should check out his channel. He's been doing really good work with some of these hauls that he's finding lately.
Yeah,
some
he
of this
changed
stuff.
his name. I've seen Casey like expand out because Casey is the golf club king, man. Like he's the guy who knows that stuff. But here recently, I've been checking him a little bit on Instagram, like seeing some of his hauls that he's getting. Like I was like, man, you're kind of stepping outside the box a little bit for him. So so I actually talked to Casey a long time ago because I was at a haul. I mean, I was at a yard sale and they had a ton of stuff like ping putters and that kind of stuff. And I reached out to him on Instagram. We actually talked to each other and I was like, should I go back and get it? This is what's there. And he's like, definitely. So he kind of got me traveling down that golf club trail as well. I'm actually surrounded by him right now, Casey, as a matter of fact.
Right. Yeah, so shout out to you, Carolina Thrifter. And I wanted to say, hey, to LKL Keith, we had a question in the chat. I missed one. It was from Hot Flip Heidi. She says, what's your number one tip for a new reseller?
There's a lot when you're new. It's funny today. For those of you guys that don't realize this, like I don't meet strangers. Like I talk to people. Like those of you that have met me in person, you know that for a fact. But so for me today, I was in a thrift store. It's we all kind of have that addiction. So I'm in a rush, but I'm like, dude, I've got to try to pick something today. Like I can't drive by, but so many before like the steering wheel takes over. I got to swing in. So I swung in just for a minute, kind of get a break too. And I rode in there and I picked up a couple shirts, but there was a couple in there and we got talking and like they found out, they read my hat, like OBX Picker, like what's that about? So we got talking about the thing and I was like, yeah, I resell full time. And they're like, really? Like, so they were super interested. So one of the things I talked to them about is I guess one of the things that I did not do very much of when I first started, I ran comps, but really I was so concerned with what it was priced, so when I would look at the item, I weren't paying attention to how many was listed versus how many it sold. So I'm just looking like there's a comp, it sold for this much. Well, you may look and there's 300 of them listed, but 5 sold. Like that's not a good buy. Because you think about the sell-through rate of that. Okay, so in 90 days, if 5 sold out of 300, how long is it going to take you to sell that item? Not even to mention like what you're paying for it. So the only way you could sell that item is you probably need to be the cheapest or the best, one or the other, right? So like I would recommend when you're new, it's great to comp. I used to use the thrift store as like college. I think thrift store is eBay college. Like I think if you go in there with your phone, and who cares? Like if people see you, because that's the other thing. People are a lot of times are like undercover a reseller. Like I don't want anybody to know. I was like, you're in the thrift store. They already got a price on it. They ain't changing it. Like so, you just go there and comp, man, and look stuff up. And the other thing is if you see guys that are telling you something on YouTube that, hey, this sells for this, well, that may have changed. Like, things change all the time in this thing. So It's good to comp. Go with your gut some too. Like once you kind of get a head on your shoulders, like you can't necessarily do that at a yard sale, but if you're buying cheap enough, who cares? Like you can always just redonate it if it's cheap enough, right?
Right. Yeah, Eric also mentioned earlier about being organized. So, it's all well and good to go and take photos and list the items, but it's definitely no fun when you're spending 20, 30 minutes and you can't remember where you put the item and the item sold and you know you have it laying around your house somewhere or in the shed, but you don't know exactly where it is. So if you were kind of organized, that would be 2 steps ahead of the game right there, right?
Yeah, and do that early. I mean, I did not do SKUs when I first started. And so when I do sell these boat parts, I got to dig through 12 boxes every time to find what I need.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I got a few thousand CDs, and so when I sell one, it's in a big hefty box of CDs, and I have to kind of flip through them to find the one I'm looking for. Like I just sold one a minute ago for $18, and I paid 40 cents for it, so I had to scroll through it, and luckily I was like, oh, here it is, it's right here. But you know, sometimes you don't find it instantly. It takes you a few minutes to look for it. So you have any other tips or tricks or advice you could give us, Eric? You're a full-time reseller.
Like the whole thing of everybody's using their phone now when you're in the thrifts. Now, this being said, okay, so when I first started, I was in the thrift 4 to 5 days a week. Like that was my go-to. Like that's what I was comfortable with. That was one of the things. Yard sales weren't where I'm at. Like, I mean, like this Saturday right now, I think we've got maybe 4 sales. That's what we got. So like, it's you need to start looking at more than one avenue to buy. There's tons of ways to do this thing. Don't get just hung up in this is the only way I can find stuff. Because most of the people you see complaining about reselling and stuff, like there's stuff everywhere. Like, I mean, really sourcing stuff everywhere. Like you just gotta start like experiment, like try a little bit extra. I know when you first get started, like one of the things for me, honestly, when I first got started was budgetary. Like, you know, I was like, hey, I'm going to spend $200 a week. But then you're like, well, I mean, think about that. If you're spending $200 a week and that's all you're spending, so what are you going to do? Make $400 a week? Like that's what your mindset has to be, because if you're talking about like growing your listings and that kind of stuff, you've got to have stuff. That being said, like there's stuff out there, but it may not come in the avenue you think. Like for me, I've experimented with RA. I personally don't like RA from a standpoint of profit because I'm spoiled. Like I buy stuff for less than 10% most of the time because I'm buying in bulk. What I would suggest is put the word out what you do, for one. Secondly, one of the things that worked great for me is find some mom and pop auction that still does live. Find somebody, mom and pop company that does estate sales, because those are the guys that if you get in good with them, they have made it for me. Like they've made it. That's one of the things. Now, and honestly, don't be afraid to get outside of what you know, in the sense of, so like my estate sale company is an hour from me. Like the place that I go is an hour from me, because here at the beach, you can find some stuff, but it's usually higher priced. B, it's more picked through. But when I get out there in the country, like you're dealing a lot more with the guys going to estate sales who are merely collectors. Collectors or hoarders is what you got to see. You see guys that are into one specific thing, or you see guys who are just buying whatever's there. And if you have a little knowledge because you've been in Thrift University there, then you can go out and start finding some gold in some of them places. And like my guys say, like make a pile. They're make a pile guys. So if I make a pile, the price gets better. I always call it hedging my bets, right? So if I'm looking at what I'm buying, I put enough in that pile. I'm looking for 1 or 2 items that are going to pay for whatever that guy says. So if the guy comes back $100 and I got 2 $50 items in there, I was like, gold, let's put more in the pile, right? Let's get it to where we can hedge our bets. So even if those take a little time to sell, I've got a $20 item, I've got a $30 item, I've got a $40 item, I've got a multiple quantity $15 item. So that's the stuff that I think about
I'm definitely agree with what you're saying. If you have a big pile of stuff, they're usually going to cut you a better deal. Instead of you coming up there with one VCR and say, hey, how much for this one VCR? They say $10. Well, what if you put that one VCR in a pile of 20 other items? They may say $10, $15 for the whole pile, just because some of the times they're just trying to move inventory. They're trying to get this stuff out of here. So they just be like, all right, load it up in your van or your truck for $15. Just take it and get it out of here. But yeah, I kind of evolved from, it's not that I don't like going to thrift stores, but I feel like last week I went to this thrift store, Eric, and I swear, dude, I was in there for 15, 20 minutes. And the guy says, hey, man, everything in this thrift store is 30% off. And you want to know how many items I found? 0. Like, I walked in there and I just couldn't find anything. Versus now, if I just right. And I'm like, yeah, everything's 30% off, but I can't find anything. Versus I could just sit at home, press one button, and have 500 or 1,000 items show up at my door, and I'm paying 40, 50 cents a piece. And that includes free shipping to my door versus this stuff here where I feel like I'm in an arm wrestling match with these people sometimes because they're trying to work with me on price, but I'm like, there's no meat on the bone for me to make a profit on any of this stuff. Like it's like, you guys want to move this stuff because it's junk. If you can't move it, I can't move it. It's just dead stock inventory. I don't want to buy stuff just to buy it. So let me say hello to a few people in the chat. I wanted to say hey to Hot Flip Heidi here. He says I'm taking a break. I wanted to say hey to Anytime Picker is here. Twin Pillars is here. Says I am listening while listening. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us today. The Stelling Sniper is here. Says sorry I'm late. I'm shipping. Anytime Picker says sorry I'm late. I was at the Goodwill. Well, hey, I hope you found some good stuff today. And I wanted to say hey to Utah Bot and Gone, man. If you guys haven't been following Zach lately, I've been following him on YouTube and Instagram. He has a really important question. He wants to know, outside of reselling, how can I grow a beard like that?
I don't know, bro. I've been growing mine now since October. So. Oh, wow. Yeah, you got to have that ginger blood in you, man. That's what happens.
The girls like that. So Eric, talk to me a little bit about your YouTube channel, bro. Tell people what got you inspired to start your YouTube, because you have 2 YouTube channels now. And I remember, dude, I was one of the people following you, like, early on, like trying to help, push you, like, hey, Eric, you're going to hit the 1,000 subscribers. You can do it. Like, I'm one of those guys. If you guys don't know me, I'm one of the people that's like in your corner, helping push you in the right direction. So I remember
him, he's always dropping comments. He's always one of those things.
Yeah.
Roman, sell my beard later on eBay.
Yeah, right.
That'll be my enemy. You can have a piece of the beard.
Right.
So I YouTube wise, it's kind of crazy. Like when I first started watching YouTube reselling stuff, I was on the other side. I really thought I was going to go Amazon way. And so I was watching a lot of those guys that do Amazon and do that kind of thing. And then I honestly don't remember who I really found first. But I'm pretty sure like it was kind of a conglomerate of like everybody else. I found Lonnie Garage Flips. I found Cincinnati Picker. I found Kevin Commonwealth. Like all those guys obviously were a little smaller than what they are right now, but they were kind of doing it. Craigslist Hunter was somebody I watched. Honestly, Resell Rabbit was another guy that I watched. He does a completely different business model than most people. So I started watching, just watching that stuff. And then honestly, I looked at some of those guys. Justin RVA Flips, another guy that I followed a little bit. And
did you get a chance to run into him at the reseller rally? He was there.
Yeah. I think I pretty much talked to everybody. If you were there and I didn't talk to you, I'm sorry, but I did try to get around to about anybody and everybody while I was there. I actually had some cool experiences with getting to hang out with Matt, part-time picker. Actually went picking with him, which was awesome. Yeah. And Matt, for those of you that doubt it, he's another guy I was watching in the beginning. Matt is a magnet for grails. Like he just is. I was like, I've never seen a Toomey bag in life picking anywhere. We rolled out. He saw 3 like within the first hour of us out there. Yeah. So I was like, and I actually found a vintage pair of this is a little funny thing that I've kept because I found this when I was with Matt.
Yeah.
It's diaper. Wow. Yeah, in the pack. So anyway, so going out there and meeting those guys was definitely one of the things. But when I think back of me watching those guys on there, so I mean, no offense to any of these guys, but I'm watching Lonnie and Cincinnati Picker and Part Time Picker and Kevin and these guys, and they're doing this stuff. Like they're going out, they're finding the stuff. Hey, I sold this today for whatever, and I picked it up for whatever, and I'm like, I'm watching these guys. I was like, I can do that. Like I can do what they're doing. Right. Little did I know, there's a lot more to it than that. Like you can. It is a lot more time consuming. The editing side of things, like the camera work. Like you try to hold a camera, like you think that's easy. Like try to hold a camera, pull your orders, remember what you sold the item for, like and try to do all that. So I thought that was easy. And I was like, man, I can do that. But then once I started doing YouTube, like I was a stalker for a long time, like, just lurking in the chats, not saying anything. Then I started talking and interacting with people. And that's when I really kind of fell in love with the community. I'm like, people here are there people that aren't exactly what they say they are? I'm sure there's a little bit of that. But I can tell you just from going to Reseller Rally, all the people that I met were the same as what they are on their channel, which is cool. Like, because I've hung out with numerous guys, even way back. Like, so Rev and Nikki T and Redneck Resale and all those guys, Chris Old School Picker, we all went last year to the 411 and the 127. And so I got to meet them. They were the same. And then, like, the guys in the community, I mean, there are certain guys that I get along with a little better than others. Just because personalities, we match up a little bit better, but I'm pretty much across the board. Like I don't really, people, it's funny. Like
Roman says, am I even real? You got a chance to meet Roman. He was at the Reseller rally.
Roman, man. Do you know Roman could be like, we were joking him at the rally about like, dude, were you in the Die Hard movie?
they're just sticking on
accent, man. He was a good time to be around there, that's for sure.
So Eric, what advice, because you're at like over 2,000 subscribers now on your main YouTube channel, so if somebody wants to start a YouTube channel or they're at that grind and they're going from 0 to their first 1,000 subscribers, what advice do you have to help them out, to help them get to their first 1,000 subscribers? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I would tell you, it's kind of like eBay and your business with that. Consistency is key. I haven't modeled that exactly right myself. I did a 30-day challenge where I shot a video every day, and honestly, that'll burn you out. Just to be truthful. So set legitimate goals. Like, hey, maybe let that goal be to begin with, I want to start with one video a week. I want to be consistent with that video. I want to put it out on this day. So go ahead and get that thing edited a day or two in advance. And just be who you are is really the thing. That's what I enjoy watching. I always, my mom used to always tell me, as hard as you have to work to get somebody to watch you, is you're going to have to work twice as hard to keep them there. So if you're just yourself and you allow your personality to come through, there are people that are going to love your personality. There may be some people that don't like your personality, but I mean, if you're doing it to appease everybody, like that's not going to work anyway, because like there's always going to be people that, aren't in your corner. But that's what the reselling world, if you're who you say you are, you'll get support from people in the community. Like,
I mean, stuff takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. So, thing is, just try to be consistent. Try to collaborate like we're collaborating now with OBX Picker. Just try to be yourself, and then try to jump into these live stream chats. Be a part of the community. Ask questions. Leave comments. And, it's going to happen over time. I have a video on my playlist where we're talking about 5 tips to help you go from 0 to 1,000 subscribers. But just keep in mind, whatever you want to do, this takes time. It's not going to be something that just going to happen instantaneously. Let me say hello here to a few people in the chat real quick. Ebliss Reseller Solutions says, Jeff is Larry King of the reseller community. We appreciate you, Jeff, and your hard work you do. Hey, thank you guys for coming by and hanging out. Yeah, I do the best I can, just trying to be consistent. Like this week, I'm I've got 4 or 5 videos this week. I was on with Shane Rosin Grind Picker, and Friday I'm going to be on with Buffalo Picker's channel on Friday night, Defend the Hustle. So I wanted to say hey to Anytime Picker is here. Dill Dills is here. Says, hey, Eric, hope you are doing good. And Heapless says, yes, it seems many resellers, YouTubers are cool and legit. Wanted to say hey to Noob Ernie asked an important question. Says, would you ever shave your beard? We need to do a thing for charity or something.
You know, I might would do it. I didn't have a beard. Like if you go back and watch my first videos, I definitely did not. I just had a goatee that I had for a while. I worked a job for about 10 years where I had to be clean shaven all the time. And so I finally convinced my wife that I was like, I think I'm gonna grow a beard, like a full beard, just to whatever. And plus there's other resellers that have beards as well. But I just decided to blow that thing on out. I mean, I'm probably gonna trim it up a little bit soon because it's it actually interferes sometimes with filming. So if you go back and watch the Lego video, there's a beard appearance.
Pretty soon, Eric, you're gonna be like one of those people that work in the kitchen and they have like a hairnet, and then they have a hairnet for their beard. That's gonna be you walking around.
Put it in a little ponytail, like Dick.
Ponytail. So Eric, go ahead and plug your YouTube channel. Tell everybody about you have a second channel now. It's called OBX Flips. I have both your links in the description down below. And you do this listing and loafing challenge where you just kind of hang out and you sit down and list items. You hang around with like-minded people, and you guys just sit around and crank out some listings. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay, so my main channel, OBX Picker. Hey, Annie, I see Annie in the chat. You know, Annie was one of my very first subscribers, just so and she's always been very supportive since when my videos were super terrible. Now they're not so terrible. But like when I first, OBX Picker is mainly now devoted to the Whatcha Pickin series and picking side of what we do, like going out. It is weird, and you know, for those of you guys that may be started out in YouTube and you look at like why do all these guys have 2 channels? The reason being is YouTube does not like lives for some reason. Like they don't promote what happens with a live. So like me and Jeff are live right now. So once this live's over, I know he has people because he's done this. This is his deal. Like, so I know he has people going back and watching that all the time because they're subscribed to Jeff and they know Jeff that does the interviews and they want to see the interview. But on the normal, if you notice in your suggested, like after you finish watching a video, it will never push you to someone's live. Like, and unless you're subscribed to that person, you'll get a notification they're going live or whatever. But unless you hit that button live and you're searching, you're never going to get that at the end of the video suggesting you this video. So I made the decision when we were at Reseller Rally, we had the Godfather there talking to us about YouTube, Mr.
Talking about Craigslist Hunter,
So he was talking to a lot of us about like, guys, you know, I know you guys love the lives, but you know, it really does hurt your channel. And I can tell you when I quit doing the lives, that's when I started getting a push on YouTube. Like when I quit on that channel. So I can attest to that being factual. So now all you're going to see on that channel is picking and interviewing pickers live. Not live, but in person.
Pre-recorded?
Yeah, recorded. So that Whatcha Pickin series, like I said, we're up to 7 episodes. If you want to binge, there's so far, man. There's one great reseller after another. Actually, the next one coming out is going to be Rummage to Riches. He was set up at the 127 as well. Nathan, another great reseller. So that'll be the next one coming up. That should drop this afternoon or tomorrow. The second channel, OBX Flips, is to do with the reselling side of what we do, like the eBay side. This is what sold through my eBay. I haven't put out many of that kind of stuff yet, but I'm looking to try to do something a little different with that on that channel. And then every Tuesday, I think I've only missed a couple since we've been doing it a little over a year now. I originally started out doing that challenge. If you guys remember way back, my challenge to myself after Froggy Flips put out the Show Us Your Death Pile, soy pod video, so it's your pile of death. He put that challenge out, and then I saw a guy, Ken Skeets, who's a man after your own heart. He's a media guy, but he's in Australia. Ken Skeets and a buddy of his did a 17-hour listing challenge. They were literally streaming for 17 hours listing items.
Yeah.
And it's some ridiculous amount. And I watched that and I was inspired by it because I was like, A, I needed to get rid of my death pile. B, like I needed to get serious about listing because I was full time. And
right.
So I did that. So the first time I did hit the challenge, I listed 80 items in 8 hours. And I was live streaming the whole time. And I did have people popping in throughout the day, which kind of helped me get through it.
Right.
But after that, I had so many people reach out to me and say, man, that was so inspiring. Like, you inspired me to list, this kind of stuff. So I was like, you know what? I said, I'm just going to start going live every Tuesday and listing and hanging out. And, you know, I used to just drop the link in the chat, but, you know, sometimes that can bite you. So I quit doing that. I actually reached out to a few guys that I enjoy hanging out with. Not that I don't enjoy hanging out with other people, but like, so on that live, I have Tim over the years, who, if you guys have not seen Tim, if you need to know anything about glass, Tim is like the glass whisperer. He can tell you this is that. And he's just all around guy like that. He's into sports. They do that podcast, all that kind of stuff. So Tim's a great guy. And then Cernock, who is the king of hats, like he's taught me so much with that, hats, vintage clothing, that kind of stuff. And Cernock, I always call him the eBay MacGyver because he's always coming up with some kind of funky contraption to make things better, listing or, you know, fixing hats or all this kind of stuff. So he hangs out with me on there. And then I have Leroy, who's the tool specialist. So he always drops knowledge about that. Of course, Casey, if you're still here, man, Leroy pulled out these Grail golf clubs the other day that I was like, first the club he pulls out, it's a $300 Scotty Cameron. I was like, are you kidding me? So we're like, why do you have this? He actually caddied for a guy on the tour a couple times, which is nuts. But anyway, so Leroy's on there with us. And sometimes when Jimmy gets a chance, he pops in. Jimmy Old School Flips, who's the toy man. Like, I mean, if you know toys and video games, he's the guy. So for me, I learned a ton from those guys. It's something we can bring to the community that it's like, hey, here's all these guys that have all this wealth of knowledge. We're in here working, hanging out. If you want to come hang out, feel free to do so. Like on Tuesdays, we're there all day, just on the grind. So kind of getting you the real world of reselling. This is what it looks like behind the scenes. So it happen.
It's good to be around a community of other like-minded people. So Eric, we're going to let you go, man. We've been streaming for over 50 minutes now. Oh, Jennifer Hayes is here. Hey, Jennifer Hayes. Thanks for stopping by.
Another great supporter of the channel. Like she's
for sure. So Eric, I have all of Eric's links down below. You guys go follow him on YouTube and Instagram. All the links are down below. Eric, do you have any words of wisdom or final thoughts that you can leave us with?
Yeah. For me, like I said, do get involved in the community. Most people are willing to help you out. And like I said, I'm one of those people, like if I can help you in any way, hit me up on Instagram. That's the best way to get a hold of me. But I do like, I genuinely think that it just be consistent with what you're doing, whether that's eBay listing or shipping or whatever you're doing, just be consistent with it. On the YouTube side, it works the same way, really.
Yeah.
It's the same way.
And it's the same way whether you're trying to work on a YouTube channel or work on your eBay store. You're just going to have to be consistent, and it's just going to take time. So, hey, I want to thank our guest, OBX Picker, for coming on and hanging out with us today. I wanted to say hey to everybody in the chat for hanging out with us today. And I wanted to say hey to Yard Sales and Dreams will be here tomorrow. So if you guys want to come back and hang out tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, Danielle is going to be our guest. Brand new guest. I've never had her on before. So be sure to come in and ask her questions and pick her brain. She'll be on the chat tomorrow, Yard Sales and Dreams. So till then, man, you guys have a great day, and I will see you guys later. Bye, everybody. Bye, guys.
See you guys.